Before we move on to the issue of the impact on property rights and this question around public interest, I want to stop for a moment around the conflation of expropriation with land reform in the media, and with specific reference to recent problematic statements by US President Donald Trump. It's not unique to his statements. Many people in South Africa also believe that expropriation and land reform are the same thing. Why is that problematic?
It's very problematic because land reform is obviously it's part of our equality right within the to try to reach substantive equality in South Africa. We have a unique history that we need to set right, and that's sort of the policy imperative that we're trying to follow. South Africa is not unique in that regard. Other notable countries, there are a lot of Asian countries. South Korea had a very successful land reform program. Many South American countries, where a lot of our case law and the concept of land claims and restitution, for instance, was influenced very much by Eastern Europe and Germany specifically, following the end of the falling of the Berlin Wall, where again there was property that had to be given back to their rightful owners. So it is problematic because land reform in itself, and I think that's maybe where the misconceptions have come in. They say it's discriminatory, but it's actually aimed at achieving substantive equality in the historical context that we have. Now, expropriation, and I think one of the challenges is that land reform, I think its common cause has been very slow in South Africa. It's been frustratingly slow, and many commentators have jumped to the conclusion to say the reason why it's been so slow is because property owners are not willing to sell their property, and maybe in some instances that might be true, and that is where expropriation as a tool might come in as a deadlock breaking mechanism. But I can never foresee the instance where and in fact, the act that was just signed into law also won't legally allow it to be the case where expropriation is the first port of call, where the state decides for land reform purposes, we need this long list of properties, we're now going to expropriate them. There's a provision in the Expropriation Act which states any expropriating authority for any purpose, even a municipality that might need to build bulk water infrastructure going under your house, for instance, they have to make a legitimate attempt to purchase the property, to reach agreement, and only if no agreement can be reached after making a reasonable offer can the state go to expropriation. So how often expropriation will be used within the land reform context is absolutely vital, and I think that's where a huge misconception has come in. Of course, one will have to see, because it's inversely related to whether or not landowners are willing to sell the land where there is a valid claim or where the land has been identified for land reform. But it really is conflating land reform, which is why we're doing it, and one of several ways in which we can do it, the how, which expropriation is one part of the toolkit that government now has.